I'm good at those, but I'm not rushing. If you just had 1/10% of the money they spend on cattle,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
you'd be a billionaire. I'm serious. I mean,
That's a big one.
oh yeah.
Has anybody heard from Casey?
I have not.
He's probably at home painting.
Yeah, she might. Who knows?
Just a second here. Oh, goodness.
She might be coming in now.
Those are signatures from Shane that point, you know?
If she comes, they'll show.
So that's when does the I'm thinking of what's great on the road versus so.
Renee not coming tonight?
I just texted her. I haven't got a response yet. As far as I know, yes, she will be here.
Okay.
She got the kickstand on her boot stock.
I did.
Jeff, are you willing to fill in and if, oh,
Sure.
Here she is.
Oh, I've never been so happy to see someone.
Why doesn't he say that about
She gets a delay because of the cast.
Run, Renee,
absolutely.
run! No, I was kidding. I'm teasing
No,
you.
it's fine. Take your time. Anything's better than me having to fill it.
Good.
You didn't know that.
Well, my husband's like,
That's everybody. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the West Milton Council meeting for October 2022. If I can ask everybody to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Almighty God, we give you thanks for this day. We give you thanks for this region we live in where we get to see the beauty of all creation as the leaves change color. And we thank you for the mild weather that we could actually watch it happen this year. Father, we thank you for this community full of families, of neighbors, of friends that at their very best surround one another with love and care. And when crisis comes, there's many hands to help. We ask, Lord, you bless our leaders who have devoted themselves to step away from very busy times in their own lives to help serve and lead this community. Give them wisdom, give them grace as they strive to do the best for West Milton and beyond. We ask your blessings, we ask your presence in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. So what's the box I'm calling?
I'd like to call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Miller,
Here.
Mr. Dorman,
Here.
Ms. Cobb,
Here.
Mr. Hurst,
Here.
Mr. Horn,
Here.
Ms. Metz,
Here.
Mr. Tracy.
Council should have received their minutes for the September regular council meeting and September 13th regular council meeting and September 27th council workshop. Are there any motions to accept the minutes?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to accept the council meeting minutes for September 13th and the workshop for September 27th.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Dorman,
Yes.
Ms. Cobb,
Yes.
Mr. Hurst,
Yes.
Mr. Horn,
Yes.
Ms. Metz.
Yes.
Mr. Tracy.
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes.
We changed it.
And that was from the workshop.
You had me change it.
Councilwoman Kopp was absent from the September 27th council workshop. Is there any motion to excuse Councilwoman Kopp from that workshop?
I'll make a motion to excuse Councilwoman Kopp from said workshop.
I'll second it.
I'm sorry.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Dorman?
Yes.
Ms. Kopp?
Yes.
Mr. Hurst?
Yes.
Mr. Horn?
Yes.
Ms. Metz?
Yes.
Mr. Tracy?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes. Is there any correspondence to council this evening?
There is none, Mayor.
Moving on to comments from citizens regarding tonight's legislation. Seeing none. Moving on to ordinances and resolutions, CM-22-37. And that over to Ms. Brush.
Thank you. It's an ordinance amending section 50.15, obstruction of gutters forbidden of the West Milton Codified Ordinances. Whereas the municipality of West Milton, Ohio has increasingly dealt with the issue of grass clippings, yard waste, and other loose matter being placed in the gutter, street, and right-of-way of the municipality, which in turn runs into the sewer. And whereas the municipal manager, along with the director of service, is requesting that such items be included in section 50.15 in order to alleviate the stress and damage to the sewer system. Now therefore be it ordained by the council for the municipality of West Milton, Ohio, that section 1, council hereby amends section 50.15 of the West Milton Codified Ordinances to read as follows. Section 50.15, obstruction of gutters, streets, publicly owned property, and public right-of-ways forbidden. Section A, no person shall place any rubbish, dirt, grass, weeds, leaves, yard waste, filth, or loose matter of any kind in or on the gutters, streets, public-owned property, or right-of-ways of the municipality, or having placed the same thereon, or if the dirt, rubbish, grass, weed, leaves, yard waste, filth, or loose matter of any kind shall mash or accumulate therein, shall permit it to remain to the annoyance or inconvenience of any person. Section B, nothing in this section shall be construed so as to interfere with parties who have a permit from the municipal council to occupy the gutter temporarily for the improvement of abutting property. Section 2, this ordinance shall be effective on and after the earliest date permitted by law.
Thank you, Ms. Brush. Manager Sheridan?
Yeah, as you may recall, this is an ordinance that came before the council previously, and there were some changes made. So I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is now the first reading of the modified ordinance with the changes you requested.
Could we amend it to state that it's a storm sewer instead of, being,
Be more specific, a storm sewer versus a sanitary.
yeah,
Certainly we could, whether that's a change that requires a second reading, that's just more of a clarification. I'll defer to the law director.
Yes, you can change it to, it's just a clarification, it doesn't change the nature of the statute, so that's fine.
okay.
Any other questions?
All right. Moving on to CM-22-38. Ms. Brush.
An ordinance amending Chapter 50, Streets and Sidewalks, Section 50.99A, penalty of the West Milton Codified Ordinances. Whereas the penalty section of Chapter 50, Streets and Sidewalks of the West Milton Codified Ordinances was passed on April 9th, 1996. And whereas the Council for the Municipality of West Milton, Ohio, upon the recommendation of the municipal manager, believes it is in the best interest of the municipality to increase the penalty for a violation of Chapter 50 of the Codified Ordinances in order to reflect the severity of the violations due to the burden it places on residents and municipal employees, as well as to further deter individuals from violating this chapter. Now therefore be it ordained by the Council for the Municipality of West Milton, Ohio, that Section 1, Council hereby amends Section 50.99A of the West Milton Codified Ordinances to read as follows. Section 50.99 penalty. Section A, whoever violates any provisions of this chapter for which another penalty is not already provided is guilty of a misdemeanor of the 4th degree. Each day during which noncompliance or a violation continues shall constitute a separate offense. Section 2, this ordinance shall be effective on and after the earliest date permitted by law.
This is a similar ordinance that you considered at the same time. You again asked for some modification, and so this is the first reading with the modifications.
Any questions or comments for council? Moving on to CM-22-44.
And this is a second reading, correct?
Correct. This is the
Okay.
second reading.
It's an ordinance amending Section 150.333, Certificate of Zoning Compliance of the West Milton Code of Ordinances.
Manager Sheridan, anything to add?
No, this is just a part of the update process that we've discussed in the past. There were two sections where we needed to modify some of the fees and the amounts to make them more current.
Any questions or discussion for council? Is there a motion for the ordinance?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to accept ordinance CM-22-44.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Dorman?
Yes.
Ms. Kopp?
Yes.
Mr. Hurst?
Yes.
Mr. Horn?
Yes.
Ms. Metz?
Yes.
Mr. Tracy?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes. Next is CM-22-45. Ms. Brush.
It's an ordinance amending Section 151.998D, fees, charges, and expenses for subdivisions of the West Milton Code of Ordinances.
This is a complementary ordinance to 44. It adds some of the same language in a different section of the code, again, to make it more clear.
Any other questions or discussion with council? Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move that we accept ordinance CM-22-45.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Dorman?
Yes.
Ms. Kopp?
Yes.
Mr. Hurst?
Yes.
Mr. Horn?
Yes.
Ms. Metz?
Yes.
Mr. Tracy?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes. Next is CM-22-47. Ms. Brush.
It's an ordinance amending Section 50.01, application for excavation permit, streets and sidewalks of the West Milton Code of Ordinances. Whereas it has been several years since the fee for street cut bonds has been updated, and whereas council has reviewed the current fee and believe it is necessary and in the municipality's best interest to update this fee to reflect the current economy. Now therefore be it ordained by the council for the village of West Milton, Ohio as follows. Section 1, the language contained in the existing section 52.142B1 of the West Milton Code of Ordinances is hereby, that's not correct, is it? Sorry, it should read, the language contained in the existing section 50.01 of the West Milton Code of Ordinances is hereby amended to read as follows. 50.01, application for excavation permit. No person may in any manner or for any purpose excavate or cause to be excavated any street or alley in the municipality until the person has filed an application for and has been issued by the Director of Service a permit and bond therefore, or cash or certified check in lieu of bond for $450, conditioned that the excavation will be done and refilled according to the terms of the application permit and Ordinance 796, and that warning shall be posted and maintained as provided herein. This should be Section 2. This ordinance shall become effective from and after the earliest date permitted by law.
So this is the first reading of a modified ordinance we brought to you previously. Again, the council asked for some changes. We made those changes, including the change that we've just now made. Is this still considered a first reading? Will it need to come back with that change?
I've read it with the changes, so you should be
Perfect.
fine.
So this will be first reading. It'll be a second reading at your next meeting.
Any questions or discussions for the,
When a company comes in and they're doing multiple things throughout town, such as gas line repair, or when the fiber optic company was in town, do they have to file multiple ones of these, or?
How do you handle that, Mr. Herron?
The public entities don't do street cut bonds.
Okay, so just private stuff. So just contractors.
Yeah. Typically, we have the ability to go back on public companies and make sure it gets done. It just may take a little more effort.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Moving on to CM dash. Sorry, I'm out of order.
2248.
Yeah, CM dash 48.
It's an ordinance amending section 137.09, pointing and discharging firearms and other weapons of the West Milton Codified Ordinances. Whereas the Council for the Municipality of West Milton, Ohio believes it is in the best interest of the municipality to update section 137.09 of the West Milton Codified Ordinances in order to protect the health and safety of the residents of the municipality. Now therefore be it ordained by the Council for the Municipality of West Milton, Ohio, that Section 1, Council hereby amends Section 137.09A of the West Milton Codified Ordinances to read as follows. And actually, the entire section is being modified, if you can see that. 137.09, pointing and discharging firearms and other weapons. Section A, no person shall discharge any BB gun, air rifle, rifle, shotgun, revolver, pistol, or other firearm, or make use of any sling, bow, or an arrow, or crossbow within the corporate limits of the municipality. Section B, this section does not apply when firearms are used in self-defense, in the discharge of official duty, or when otherwise lawfully authorized. Section C, a violation of Division A of this section is a misdemeanor of the 4th degree, with the exception of the following. 1, if the discharge of a firearm occurs on a lawn, park, pleasure ground, orchard, or other ground appurtenant to a schoolhouse, church, or inhabited dwelling, the property of another, or a charitable institution, the violation shall be a misdemeanor of the 1st degree. Section 2, if the violation created a substantial risk of physical harm to any person, caused serious physical harm to property, caused physical harm to any person, or caused serious physical harm to any person, a violation of Division A is a felony to be prosecuted under appropriate state law. Section D, hunting near Township Park. Section 1, no person shall hunt, shoot, or kill game within 1/2 mile of a township park unless the Board of Township Park Commissioners has granted permission to kill game not desired within the limits prohibited by this division, which is RC Section 3773.06. Section 2, whoever violates Division D1 of this section is guilty of a misdemeanor of the 4th degree. Revised Code Section 3773.99A. Section E, unlawful pointing or aiming. No person shall intentionally and without malice point or aim any BB gun, air gun, or firearm, or any sling, bow, and arrow, or crossbow at or toward another. Section F, penalty for violations of Division E. Whoever violates Division E of this section is guilty of a misdemeanor of the 4th degree. Section G, exceptions. This section shall not prohibit the firing of a military salute or the firing of weapons by persons of the nation's armed forces acting under military authority, and shall not apply to law enforcement officials or other government officials in the proper enforcement of the law, to include training at a shooting range authorized by the municipality, or to any person in the proper exercise of the right of self-defense, or to any person otherwise lawfully permitted by proper federal, state, and local authorities to discharge a BB gun, air gun, or firearm, or to use a sling, bow, and arrow, or crossbow in a manner contrary to the provision of this section. Section 2, this ordinance shall be effective on and after the earliest date permitted by law.
As I believe council is aware, this ordinance and issue has generated significant discussion over multiple meetings. And so, working with the law director, we believe this comes the closest to most of the council, but certainly does not meet the requests of all the council. So if this is not what the council wants, we'll try again. But this is, that's why it's on the agenda tonight. This was the closest to what we understood from most of the council. Does that make sense, I hope?
Yeah. The only part I really have a problem with is Section A. The way that reads is a kid that's learning that makes a slingshot in his backyard or whatever is going to be guilty of violating this offense, which is, I don't know, a misdemeanor or whatever. And that's kind of silly. So,
May I respond? What I would simply suggest is that's where the discretion of your officers comes into play. You can't legislate every particular action. Many times the officer has discretion over the law. I would expect to trust my officers not to arrest the young man with a slingshot, but that's my perspective.
I understand that, but then we have, you know, how young is a young man? Is that 6? Is that 12?
discretion
is
of the
that
officers.
18? Is that 24? You know, at some point
Yes,
it
sir.
crosses the line, and
Yes, sir.
for that reason, I don't like this ordinance and will not be voting for it.
I'm not, yeah, I understand. I understand.
I would generally agree with what Greg has to say in that position, just because of the multiplicity of different, you know, BB guns, air gun. I mean, it's just, to me, there's too much there. So I would be in agreement with his position.
I would also tend to agree with that, just more so the slingshot, just, I don't know. Seems a little much.
Okay. Any other discussion or questions? All right. Moving on.
I'm sorry, I was just going to ask, so if we modify the ordinance and remove the slingshot, is that progress, or is there other changes that one of the counselors who spoke, I guess if you want to either send me an email or come talk to me, obviously we want to craft an ordinance that gets a majority of you in favor of it. So, does that help?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Just to summarize, and I can send you an email, but I think what we talked about at our workshop is there's a difference between firearms and, well, I guess BB guns and on down, you know. There are things that you could do in your backyard and you're not disturbing your neighbors. You could shoot an air gun or a BB gun or something, as long as you don't shoot it onto their property, as long as you don't point it at someone, you're not really hurting anybody. So that's kind of the way I would look at it. And you're not making noise. I mean, it's different to shoot a pistol and you say, well, I'm not shooting at anybody. Well, I know, but I can hear it from 3 blocks away, you know.
I'll trust the law director to take another run at it.
I don't know much about guns, but you mentioned BB guns. There's a different type and variety the other night, so I don't know, some being more as a toy and some being more as a deadly weapon.
I think maybe the police chief might be the firearms expert. The difference between an air.
From that, but there are different types of BB guns. There's CO2s and there's actual pump BB guns. It depends on what you get. We probably all remember the TV show with the BB Daisy Rider, and you're going to shoot someone's eye out with that. BB guns, obviously, if you point them in the wrong direction, the kids playing with them, there has been numerous times in our lives, we probably remember kids getting hurt with those. You could definitely put an eye out, and they could be lethal as well. So, you know, I think slingshots, I understand, that makes sense to me. Most of the time they're going to damage your property because they're your kids, and they'll probably put a hole in your siding or bust your window out. You know, but I sent some things to Ms. Frosch a couple weeks ago that there's some changes I think we can make to some of this, but I think if we take too much out, it defeats the purpose of what it really is about.
I think it'd be real easy to get in the weeds on BB guns and pellet rifles too, from the standpoint of, you know, a break barrel pellet rifle can be loud. I mean, it breaks the sound barrier. It's as loud as a gun. And at the same token, Daisy Red Ryder BB gun, you know, comes out at about 150 feet per second, you know, probably about the same speed as an airsoft gun, if that. You know, it's just spring loaded. You'd get in some weeds on what's considered deadly and what's not, and who's going to police whether it's a high-powered air rifle or a low-powered air rifle.
All right.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Moving on to CM-22-49. Ms. Brush.
It's a resolution to authorize the municipal manager to purchase real estate on behalf of the municipality of West Milton. Whereas the municipal manager, on behalf of council for the municipality of West Milton, has negotiated in good faith to purchase real property located at 438 South Miami Street, West Milton, Ohio. And whereas the owners of said real property have accepted the negotiated purchase price of $65,000 for the land and $17,000 for expenses for same, with the municipality also being responsible for paying closing costs. Whereas council for the municipality of West Milton is in agreement with the terms of the purchase. Now therefore be it resolved by the council of the municipality of West Milton, Ohio, that Section 1, the municipal manager has negotiated in good faith to purchase real property located at 438 South Miami Street, West Milton, Ohio. Section 2, the owners of said real property has accepted the negotiated purchase price of $65,000 for the land and $17,000 for expenses for said property. Section 3, the municipal manager is authorized to execute a contract for the purchase of real property located at 438 South Miami Street, West Milton, Ohio, for the total price of $82,000 plus closing costs.
Thank you, Mr.
Any
Sheriff.
questions? This is the parcel, if you don't recall, that will be the new second entrance to our park.
Any questions, discussions? Any motions for this?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to accept resolution CM-22-49 as written.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Mr. Dorman?
Yes.
Ms. Kopp?
Yes.
Mr. Hurst?
Yes.
Mr. Horn?
Yes.
Ms. Metz?
Yes.
Mr. Tracy?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes. Next is CM-22-50. Ms. Brush.
A resolution to authorize the submittal of applications for federal IIJA funds through the Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission. Whereas the Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission, the MVRPC, has solicited local government entities to submit new transportation projects for funding consideration to the Transportation Improvement Program, the TIP, and whereas the Village of West Milton has committed to a timely project development schedule, and whereas the Village of West Milton will commit the necessary resources to support the estimated local cost portion of the projects, and the following list of projects will be submitted to MVRPC, shown in order of the Village of West Milton's priority from number 1 to, you have 1. I'm sure it's not 1 to 1.
Hold on.
I mean, there only is one. Is that why it says 1 to 1?
I'm trying to get there.
It's just the one
It
project.
is just the one. Maybe that's why it says number 1 to 1. It just threw me off a little bit.
Yep, just
Yeah.
one.
Okay. Number 1, State Route 571 pedestrian improvements, estimated local share of $368,335.45. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the Municipality of West Milton, Ohio, that Section 1, this resolution shall serve to authorize the transmittal and submittal of applications for the following transportation projects to MVRPC for funding consideration and the Transportation Improvement Program, the TIP. Number 1, State Route 571 pedestrian improvements. Section 2, the village manager is hereby authorized to sign on behalf of the village the application for funds as referred to in Section 1 of this resolution. Section 3, the village manager is hereby directed and authorized to take or cause to be taken all other action necessary and proper to secure the funding sought by the application referred to herein, and provide any additional information sought by reviewing agencies during the time the application is under review. The village manager is further directed and authorized to cause compliance with all reporting requirements required by the Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission, the MVRPC, as required as part of the funding process. Section 4, upon application approval, the village hereby states its commitment to the local contributions for the project as identified in these applications, including local contribution of costs exceeding the current estimates or subsequent revised estimates as accepted by the MVRPC. Section 5, it is hereby found and determined that all formal actions of this council concerning and relating to the adoption of this resolution were adopted in an open meeting of this council, and that any and all deliberations of this council and any of its committees that resulted in such formal action were in meetings open to the public in compliance with all legal requirements, including but not limited to Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code. Section 6, this resolution shall become effective immediately upon its passage.
If I may explain, the Fed requires a very specific template for the resolution, and so I'm guessing that's why this seems somewhat awkward, because we had to follow the template exactly, and other projects have more than one, but that's why it has to be exactly the way they have it written, or it won't be accepted.
Yeah. Would you care to give a little more detail about the
Certainly.
project?
I'm sorry, I was worried about the one-to-one. This is the sidewalk project that will put in sidewalks and maybe more importantly, a barrier on the north side of 571 from what would be the entrance to the north side of the proposed Stillwater Crossings project all the way to 48. So it would be a sidewalk trail, and then the bridge would be reconfigured to open up a wider area for pedestrians and bicyclists to travel safely with a concrete barrier between them and the vehicles. Any questions?
Any other discussion or motions?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we accept Resolution CM-22-50.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Dorman?
Yes.
Ms. Kopp?
Yes.
Mr. Hurst?
Yes.
Mr. Horn?
Yes.
Ms. Metz?
Yes.
Mr. Tracy?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes. Next is CM-22-51.
It's an ordinance amending Section 91.11, possession, sale, and use of fireworks of the West Milton Code of Ordinances. Whereas council has had the opportunity to review Ohio Fire Code, Section 13017-7-56Z, 5626, which places more regulations on the possession and discharge of fireworks in the state of Ohio since the passage and adoption of amended substitute House Bill 172, which went into effect on July 1st, 2022. And whereas council believes it is in the best interest of the municipality to amend Section 91.11 of the West Milton Codified Ordinances to reflect the Ohio Revised Code and the Ohio Fire Code regarding the possession, sale, and use of fireworks. Now therefore be it ordained by the council for the municipality of West Milton, Ohio as follows. That Section 91.11 possession, sale, and use of fireworks shall be amended to read as follows. Section 91.11, possession, sale, storage, and use of fireworks. Section A, all regulations regarding the possession, sale, storage, and use of fireworks shall be pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 3743, fireworks, and Ohio Fire Code, Section 13017-756Z, 5626, which are hereby incorporated and adopted herein by reference. Section 2, that except as herein amended and supplemented, all the provisions of Chapter 91 fireworks, explosives, and fire prevention as contained in the West Milton Codified Ordinance shall remain in full force and effect. Section 3, this ordinance shall be effective on and after the earliest date permitted by law.
Thank you, Ms. Brush.
This is another ordinance that has generated significant conversation over multiple meetings, and it's my understanding that this final version is the will of the council, so it's available for your consideration and passage.
Any discussion, questions regarding the ordinance? All right, very good. Moving on to the manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Actually, just two items I wanted to bring to your attention. Chief Wright and his department recently received the Gold Award from Lexipol Connect, and I think it was important to recognize him and his department. The second part of my report, as you may recall, we are modifying our recycling process, and we got a grant to pay for the roll-offs that we've been renting. And as part of the budget process, it became evident that that's going to be even more valuable for the village than we initially considered. What we learned was in 2022, we budgeted $60,000 for the roll-offs, and after receiving the grant, that line item can be reduced to approximately $10,000. So that kudos to Service Director Herron, and his efforts have saved the village $50,000.
Wonderful.
Very good. Thank you.
Good job, man.
Yeah, thank you very much.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Chief, if I may,
Yes, sir.
what's, he mentioned the award, I have no idea what that.
So Lexipol is what we use for our daily training bulletins. Every month, we put out a number of training bulletins to the officers to keep them refreshed and up to date on policies and procedures. Lexipol is the company we use for our policies and procedures, which are backed by a staff of attorneys that are continually watching all the changes in the country to make sure that we have the most up-to-date current policies and procedures. So in 2021, we worked hard to make sure that we had all of those policies and procedures up to date, were within compliance, and that everybody was doing the daily training bulletins. And we succeeded by what they had set as a standard. So they gave us a plaque to display in the hallway that said we obtained the gold standard.
Good job, thank you.
Thank you. Great. Moving on to old business, and there's a consideration of the Stillwater Crossings North project. I don't know if you want to expand.
Certainly. As you may well be aware, there's been a proposed project for Stillwater Crossings North. It has gone through the process outlined in our charter and has been considered by the planning board. The planning board unanimously recommended to the council for approval. At this stage, what I would suggest, if the council is so inclined, that a motion to approve the project contingent upon the successful negotiation of a development agreement, which would spell out the details of the project, which would of course come back to you for final approval.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we accept the recommendation of the Village Planning Board and approve the Stillwater Crossings North project contingent upon the successful negotiation of a development agreement.
Second.
Roll call?
Roll call, please.
Mr. Dorman?
Yes.
Mr. Cox? Ms. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Hurst?
Yes.
Mr. Horn?
Yes.
Ms. Smets?
Yes.
Mr. Tracy?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes. Moving on, is there any other old business with the council this evening?
I have none, Mayor.
No.
Okay. Moving on to new business.
Just a reminder that we are having our last Third Thursday event in October, and we're shutting the street down, correct?
That's correct.
So it's going to be a big one. So we're shutting down, yes, did you know this? State Route 48, in between Hamilton and what's that road where Sour Mugs is?
North Street.
That section. And so we'll have a lot of food trucks down there. We'll have a lot of craft vendors. We have karaoke coming. So, and we're proposing to do a cakewalk also. So I think it's going to be a really fun night. We should have a lot of people down there. And it's going to start at 4 and probably end closer to 7:30 because it's getting dark now so early. So that's the last one for the year. And then we are also putting on the calendar November 26th. It's a Saturday. We'll be having the tree lighting parade for the Christmas season. And we're having carriage rides again, free carriage rides. So it's going to be a fun time.
Santa will be there also, I believe, right?
And Santa, yep. He looks really real. I saw him at the gym the other day. So
Get
that's
ready
it.
for all those cookies.
Sarah, what was the date of Third Thursday?
October 20th. Yeah.
Very good. Any other new business with, or,
Is that right?
yeah, new business with council? Opening up the floor for comments by citizens. All right, seeing none. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you.
Yes.
You did good.
Yes.
You might get confused.
We can email it to you.
Well, we had that truck or treat, so I'm keep around the car, so, you know, scared children, all those things that a neighborhood. Yeah. Well, I've been recognizable every year. I just thought being behind something totally different.